Holiday Homebuying in Wichita, Kansas. Find out what tips we got in today's video. So I got 5 of them. Before I get into all that, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff that helps grow the channel and whatnot. But I'm just going to go ahead and get right into this stuff and give you some tips and advice on if you're buying a home in Wichita, Kansas over the holidays, or really kind of in the winter, January, February timeframe. So right now it's December. So I'll be kind of talking about December, January, February, as far as the holiday winter home buying season goes. So the first one to consider is that, during the holidays is that the houses are decorated more and they got just more of a warmer feel. So people are getting ready for friends to come over, family to come over. And so they're going to have their house in tip top shape. It's going to be presented really well. You're going to have your Christmas decorations, your Christmas lights up. You're going to have all those, festive feels of the house. So it really gives you more of an idea of how accommodating the space is for having people over, being in its tip-top shape, because not only are they wanting to present it to you as the buyer, but also they want, obviously, their friends and family to view it well. And so they got it in really good shape to look really solid for you. So that's one thing to consider when you're looking to buy in the holidays and over the winter, is that people typically actually take better care of their house in those time frames, because you got serious buyers and serious sellers who are only doing deals because they need to, not just because they want to. Because in the summer it's busier, but it's more activity, but that doesn't necessarily mean better activity. So anybody who's looking to buy or sell right now is doing it on a need to, have to basis, not a kind of want to basis. So that's something to take into account, is that everything's going to be more quality this time of year, and not necessarily as much, tire kicking, if you will. So, which actually is number 2. I kind of jumped ahead of myself. And number 2 is that there's not as much activity. There's not as much competition for the market. So especially if you're getting fatigued by this market and reading the headlines and all the crazy stuff, in Wichita, our market is a lot different than other bigger national markets. Some of that stuff's still going on in Austin and Denver and California, where you got multiple offers and way over asking price and that kind of thing. But I can tell you right now, Wichita, that's not the case. We have a pretty steady market now at this point, and it's returning more to what I would call a more normal winter market, meaning that if you're a buyer looking to buy a house, you have a lot of leverage compared to a seller who's looking to sell a house. In your lower price points, your 100 to 175, those are still going pretty quick, as long as they're a good house in good condition, not just every house in that price range. But what we're seeing market-wide for Wichita is that there's not as much activity, means there's not as much showing activity, and there's not as many sellers out there, because most people don't really want to sell their house over the holiday season if they don't have to. But anybody who does have their house up right now is in that more of a have to situation, because if they didn't have to, they'd more than likely wait till the beginning of the year, springtime, to sell, when it's just a little warmer out, everything's a little more probable to sell. So if you're a buyer, that helps you, because obviously there's less competition. It's not as crazy, it's not as stressful, it's not as anxious, it's not all of those things. So it's a little bit more of I say easy going, but that doesn't mean you can sit around, jack around, and not actually buy a house still. It's just not quite as frantic as the summer times and the warmer months and what we saw in the pandemic. So that's number 2. Number 3, this is a big one that I see a lot of people forget, is that it takes 30 to 45 days to close a house. So even if you bought a house right now, went under contract, you wouldn't move in until January. That's something big to consider, is that even if you bought a house, went through inspections, appraisals, all that, you would still be in your current house all the way through the holidays, and you wouldn't actually move in until January. So when it comes to, planning considerations, even if you bought a house the day before Christmas, you wouldn't be moving in until the end of January type of time frame. So if you just think through the time frame of all that, you won't move in till January. You can be buying a house now, looking around now, when not a lot of other people are looking around now. You can negotiate some more favorable terms, have a little bit more favorable situation going on for you as the buyer, just because you won't move in until January. A lot of people are sleeping right now. That's the time to go get a pretty good deal or find a good house and not have quite as much craziness that can go on within real estate. So that's number 3. You won't be moving in until January. even if you buy in January, like after the first year, you won't be moving in until February. And hopefully February is warmer. It seems like this year things have been warmer around Wichita than they have in the past, which I ain't complaining at all. So it's December right now, and we got like highs of 70 for this week, that's pretty sweet. I like that. And the number 4 is over the holidays, it really helps you realize what you want more like in your house. Because typically when it gets colder out, and especially after the pandemic, people are spending more and more times in their house, and they're doing one of two things. They're either appreciating the house they're in more, or doing the opposite and realizing like, I need to get a bigger house, a better house. I want this in my house. I want that in my house. And so it helps you realize what you want more in the house, not only from a standpoint of like, I have XYZ in my house now, I want to make sure that's in my next house, but you're like, I want more space, or I want, that cubby hole or that cubby, whatever you call it, the beadboard cubby hole with the coat rack, like the drop zone where people drop all their shoes and bags and coats off by the garage door. If you don't have one of those and you see people that have one, you're like, man, I want one of those in my next house. So that kind of helps you realize more like what you do want in a house as you start looking more and spending more time in your house. And, as you have friends and family over and people in your current house, it might make you realize, man, we just need we need more space. Like, we're getting more and more people in this family. I need more space to entertain more people or do more things, or, whatever your life situation is. It helps you realize, like, maybe this is the time to do it. Finally, we've been talking about it for a while, and this is just the year to do it. So let's go look after the first year to get a house, or just as we're getting prepared for this holiday, we could start looking at a house now. So even if we went and bought a house now, you could buy the house now, move in January. And then actually that takes me into my 5th one, which is talking about longer transaction cycles equals less stress. So what I mean by that is, let's say you bought a house now in December, and that house, that's contingent on you selling your house, which we see a lot going on. It's more likely to pull out the contingency right now in the winter than it is in the summer months, when it's busier and it's more competitive, and you have people that will be bringing offers to the table that aren't contingent. It's more likely to pull off a contingent offer to get a seller to accept your contingent offer now than if it was in the busy months. So maybe it's, even though it's not as prime of a time to sell right now, it is more of a prime time to get your contingent offer accepted, which is what all this is banking on, right? Is you getting the house first and then selling yours. And as long as that seller that you're buying from is understanding and okay with the fact that this might take a little bit longer than like a transaction that happens in the middle of the summer or the springtime, they're more likely now to be open and to accept that type of situation, to have a longer transaction cycle, accept our contingent offer, allow us to get the home on the market. It might take 2, 3, 4 weeks to get the home sold, but we'll get it sold. But then it's just a little bit longer transaction cycle. And with more time, it typically is less stressful, because you have just more time to process things, think about them. It's not quite so boom, boom, boom fast on everything. So longer transaction cycles are more likely to be accepted now this time of year, which also leads to less stress within the home buying process. And the truth is, we can get houses sold all year round. It's just, it may take us a little bit longer right now with the holidays and everything else. But as long as the seller of the house that you're buying is okay with that, it all works out. So there's a lot of, complex logistics that go into realtoring. And, it's definitely a lot more than just being a pretty face opens the doors, which is why I love it, because I'm good at organizing all that, keeping people in emotion, keeping people's emotions in check, and really having a solid strategic plan of how to pull all these things off. So hopefully those 5 things to help you kind of navigate the holiday and winter home buying season a little bit better. Hopefully it helps you consider things a little bit differently when you're looking at houses. If you do want to go look at houses, go check out my website, wichitahomehero.com. Browse around what's on the market. If you want more personal, in-depth consulting, go ahead and also sign up on my website and reach out, shoot a message to anybody that's on there, and it'll get to me, or one of my team members will help get to it. But I appreciate you guys watching as always. Hopefully this is helpful for you guys to learn a little bit more about real estate, and we'll talk to you later. See ya.